Alright, hope everybody's having a good one. Welcome back to Microsoft Flight Simulator with Cookie Pirate. Today we're flying the Cirrus SR22 from Anaktuvuk Pass, Alaska, down to Chandalar Lake. It's going to be right about a half hour, right about 30 minutes. 83 miles, we're going at 11,000 feet, so not very high because it is a shorter flight. Climb aboard, let's go flying. I had to restart. I had a couple technical difficulties, in addition to having messed up the beginning of my first attempt on this flight. There's some problems with some stuff on the ground. It was really operator error, but I was having some computer problems at the same time, so I said let me resolve those, get it restarted, and here we are loaded in on the ground at Anaktuvuk Pass. Let's just check outside, see how everything... Alright, so right back here is the runway. Sun coming down over these mountains. It's a beautiful view. I wish I would have been able to get this going about a half hour earlier. The sun would be visible coming right down, but once we get airborne, we should have a really pretty view. Sun's actually shining up there because we're down in the valleys. Or valley, kind of between the mountains. The sun is a little bit obscured. It should still be a pretty view. Let's go ahead into the cockpit. We've got plenty of room to maneuver out this way. And that's the runway where we'll be taking off. So let's do the 2 battery switches. Oh, come on. Oh, come on! Click one and click it right back off. Just didn't move the mouse enough there. Alright. So we'll get those loaded up and initialized. Let's just configure a couple things. CDI to GPS, we're going to set our altitude. 11,000 feet. The FLC on to 110. There we go. Let's check the weather real quick here on the ground. Okay, so 200 at 3, so very slight wind out of the south. That works out since that's the direction that we were planning to take off anyway. Temperature is minus 22. That is minus 8 Fahrenheit. 10 miles visibility and clear skies. And it's just a little bit after 2 in the afternoon up in Alaska. Alright, let's get that. Let's go ahead and get the engine started here. So, mixture full, Rich, I'm going to cycle that. Boost pump on. Great. Clear that. Let's engage the magnetos. We'll get the starter in just a second here. Turn it to both. Clear the prop area. Left is good, right is good. That guy ahead of us will move once we start the engine. Clear! We're good. Oil pressure is immediately up into the green. The oil temperature will rise. We need it to be at I believe that green starts at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. It'll take a couple minutes to warm up. You can turn the alternator switches on. Our battery amperage is normal. We'll need to turn the pitot heat on, and let's go ahead and turn the nav lights and the strobe lights on. And those are all good right there. And there goes a truck out on the runway. Well, even all the way up here in remote Alaska, we have at least one bad behaved driver. Okay. The oil temperature is coming up. It's at 33, 34 Fahrenheit, so that's on its way. I'm actually going to do the run-up right here. That way we can just taxi out and go. That'll also get the engine warmed up a little bit. So we're going to go out of the cockpit real quick, center our view, check the flight controls. Rudder's good, elevator is good, and ailerons are good as well. Set the flaps to half, we'll confirm they're down. 2 good flaps, back into the cockpit here. Let's do a run up real quick on the engine, so we're going to bring the power up to 1700. Oil pressure is high. It's right on the edge of the green and yellow, probably just because it's cold. But with the engine running like that, that should help it warm up a bit. I'm gonna actually take that back just a touch. And that should actually help oil heat up. And yeah, the temperatures, or the pressure's coming back down just a notch, which is good. Okay, real quick, do a mag check. That's good. Back to both. Now the left. That's good. Back to both. Engine instruments are good. Keeping our eye, that temperature's still a tad low. By the time we taxi out over to the runway, it should be okay. Yeah, it's already up into the 90s, and the green starts at 100, so we should be good. Okay. So, yeah, I think we're good to go ahead and begin moving. I'm going to turn the avionics master on, and we're going to do the landing light as well. The GPS will show up in just a moment here. And let's release the parking brake, and whoa, we should have pulled back on that a little bit. Kind of started moving a little abruptly there. It's okay. Alright, we come down here to the runway. And we're moving a bit fast, so I'm going to tap the brakes gently. And we're moving fast, so this plane, and really all planes operate like this. They, you get a lot more power in the cold air with a low, what you call density altitude. I'm going to set the parking brake real quick. And what we're going to do is just configure a couple things. FLC is on, altitude hold is off, VNAV on. Heading, we're going to set to runway heading. Just that. We'll turn nav on once we get airborne. We have some pretty high terrain to contend with. So, elevation's 2,100 feet. We won't begin a turn until 2,900 feet. Unless we need a little bit of an offset just to stay clear of this terrain. Everything in red is, basically above us. So once we get airborne, we'll just pay attention to the terrain and kind of adjust as needed, but our navigation's going to take us back this way, so probably what we're going to end up doing is taking off this way. Once we get high enough, we'll start a turn to the left on course and intercept the track to Chandalar Lake. Okay, I think we're good, and our oil temperature is up into the green. Let's go ahead and release the parking brake. We're going to go full power. Ooh. There we go. Airspeed is already alive. 77, rotate, up. Come on. Here we go. Now we're going to pitch up. Let's keep our speed. We can bring the flaps up.
Back and forth has got me so messed up. Don't ignore the signs. We've had enough of the whole damn thing.
2,900, engage the autopilot. There we go. And we're just going to climb out on runway heading. All of this color on the map, everything in green is 1,000 feet below us. Everything in yellow is less than 1,000 feet below us. And everything red is above us. Or really less than 100 below us, but for all practical purposes, you can't fly in anything that's red. So we actually do have enough room to maneuver if we make a very sharp turn. So what I'm going to do is spin this around, and we're just going to pay attention to the heading as we turn, just to make sure that we don't get into any of that red. And we do want to pay attention to the yellow. We don't want to be less than 500 feet above the ground in any locations. I wish the red would indicate 500 feet instead of 100 or above. It would just be easier to visualize the safe terrain level. It's fine as it is. And on that heading, red should be going away. And yeah, we are climbing really rapidly. We're getting absolutely fantastic performance. And the temperature up here is minus 13 Celsius. So we've had a gain of 8 or 9 degrees Celsius as we've climbed up. We're going to go ahead and lean the mixture, so we're going to pull the power back down to about 30.5 manifold pressure. Right there. And we're going to pull the mixture back until we get to about 89% power. Right about 20 gallons per hour of fuel flow. There we go. And all that terrain is green or black. Black is more than 2,000 feet above the ground. And how about a quick look outside? Yeah, oh yeah, we're clearing all of that. Great. Here's the village, or town, of Anaktuvuk Pass. Airport right here. This is where we started, where we were parked. And here's the village. It's small. Only about 300 to 400 people, I think, live here. It's a very small and very remote community. Out up that way is the north slope of the tundra. And all of this down here is the Brooks Range. And oh, take a look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous. If we'd taken off just a few minutes earlier with the sun actually over the mountains, I got a flight out of here going to Fort Yukon last year about this time, and it was one of the most beautiful sunsets I've ever had in the sim. Alright, what we're going to do now is turn nav mode on. It should actually intercept the track. Yeah, it's turning to get on course. And we're just about leveled off at 11,000 feet. Short flight. Saying right about a 30-minute flight. We realistically could go higher, but why not? I mean, we're going to have a little bit of an interesting approach into Chandalar Lake, and I'll talk about that coming up. We need to look at some flight planning options, but we're accelerating really fast here. Minus 20. So it's actually warmer here at 11,000 feet than it is on the ground. And it is just crystal clear up here. This is... oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, that's gorgeous. That out there is pretty too, with the sun just lighting up everything out that direction. Ooh, I really missed doing this. Definitely want to try to make my flight sim streams a little bit more regular. Alright. And yeah, so that's we're actually getting just a little bit of a headwind. Not bad. And our speed is probably going to level. Just cap off right about here, as long as we stay below 175 indicated. Okay. Can actually zoom out here on the map a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Alright, short flight today, our route, taking us out of Anaktuvuk Pass. We're going just right over the Brooks Range mountains into Chandalar Lake, and we're gonna have to do kind of a little bit of kind of pre-planning on how to get into here. Chandalar Lake does not have weather reporting at the airport, and I don't think it has instrument approaches. It might have RNAV, but what we're gonna need is good weather to get in. We need to have a couple plans in case that weather is bad. We have a couple options. If for some reason we cannot make it into Chandalar Lake, then our options, we have Wiseman and Coldfoot down here, Prospect Creek, Bettles. We could turn back to Anaktuvuk Pass, or we could fly onward. And our option, we also do have Galbraith Lake. Actually, that's just about as far back. We could continue on to Fort... nope, that's Arctic Village right there. Fort Yukon is down there. That's about double the distance. So really our best option would be to try to get into Coldfoot if we need to. Wiseman is not paved, and I don't think it has any instrument approaches. Nope. Coldfoot doesn't, but it has, it doesn't have the ILS, but it does have an RNAV approach, I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check that on the chart. Let me double check that real quick. I want to make sure I have that planned right. Come on. Coldfoot does have an RNAV approach, but the weather's not fantastic over there. It's good at Fort Yukon. It's fantastic where we are right now, but it's not great in Arctic Village and Coldfoot. So I'm wondering. We'll have to see when we get into or when we get near Chandalar Lake. Just make sure that it's going to be okay enough for us to get into. Alright, we're in the yellow, so I'm going to actually pull the power back just a touch. Let's get down to about there. We'll leave the mixture where it's at. Just, we're a little closer to peak rather than rich at peak. For top performance. If we wanted to go lean of peak, we could set it and get the most economical cruise, but we're fine with the way it's set right now. We can turn the landing light off, we can turn the boost pump off. That's all good. We really have not used much fuel, so we'll switch the tanks a little bit further in. Beautiful. And spectacular over there. Look at that with the sun coming down. I love flying up here. It's just any time of year. If the weather is good, it's just so spectacular, the views that you get up here. So fun fact, the sun actually sets about an hour later here in Anaktuvuk Pass. This time of year you're actually getting about 5.5 hours of sunlight. But toward the beginning of December, the sun will actually set for a month. You'll get twilight, but you actually won't get... come on. Okay, so from December 7th to January 3rd, you get no sun in Anaktuvuk Pass. You get twilight, and a pretty lengthy amount of twilight at that. And then the day before, so December 6th, you get 44 minutes of sunlight. And on January 4th, you get 40 minutes of sunlight. But I mean, this time of year, most of January, you get a few hours of it, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. And only 17 minutes en route. This is really a pretty short flight. mean, if you were to take a regular, like, kind of bush plane, it would probably be closer to an hour. But I like flying the Cirrus. It's fast, it's fun, and it's very comfortable to fly. Hey, Strawberry Jam, how are you? Welcome back. So, we're about a third of the way, and our route is basically up here in the Brooks Range, pretty far north of the Arctic Circle in Alaska. We're out of here, out of Anaktuvuk Pass, on the way to Chandalar Lake, which is this little L-shaped, kind of boomerang-shaped lake right here in the middle of the mountains. For reference, this is Fort Yukon, and this is Fairbanks all the way down here. This is where we flew into on the last flight. So we're significantly further north this time. Alright, I want to do a little bit of looking at the maps, kind of some planning here. So I really don't know what the weather is doing at Chandalar Lake since it doesn't have reporting, so we have a couple options. Probably the easier way to go is going to be kind of cut around here and then fly up along the lake because the runway goes this way, and we want to land this way. It is difficult, it is doable, but it is difficult to come in and land this direction. So I would prefer to come in this way if possible, basically flying over the lake and then touching down. So I think we're going to try to do that set up that way. So we'll just have to pay attention to the navigation as we get a little bit closer. The good news is we have plenty of time to maneuver. Airport elevation is, I believe, about 2,200 feet. Nope, not there. Okay, 1,900. So we just have to descend about 9,000 feet. I would say what we would do, because we do have some pretty high terrain on each side. Some of this up here is well over 6,000, so we do have to pay attention to that. Right up here, these mountains I think are 6,800, almost 7,000. So we'll have to keep that in mind as we descend. We might actually need to swing around these lakes, cross over here at about 6,000, and then really kind of book the plane down. So we're kind of doing somewhat visual flight. Man, I was really encouraged. We had a great turnout on that first Flight Sim stream earlier today. That was great. I just love sharing that kind of stuff with people. I do have to work tomorrow, so I'm not going to be on super late, but I do want to try to do a Planet Coaster stream this evening. So I imagine once I finish up with this... I don't know, I've already eaten dinner, which is nice. I don't have to take the time to do that. But I have a few things to do, kind of get ready, and then once I kind of get everything taken care of for the evening, maybe I'll jump on for a short and later Planet Coaster stream. We're already halfway. So Galbraith Lake is off to our left. You probably can't see it. Yeah, it's going to be behind all those mountains, kind of out there in the back. Well, how about a quick view outside? Suppose we've got the time. Let's go ahead and switch the fuel selector to the right tank. That down here is the Dalton Highway. You ever watch Ice Road Truckers? That's kind of the way that people, they would go from Fairbanks up to the North Slope to Prudhoe Bay. There's a place called Adigan Pass a little bit further up here. Nope. No, this is it right here. This is the Dalton Highway. And the Alaska Pipeline. So this is it here. And Adigan Pass kind of goes up through there. You actually have to drive about 4,000 feet in elevation up the mountain pass. And in the dead of winter, it can get very treacherous. I mean, even in the summer, it's no cakewalk, but just it being so remote and stuff. And I think that back over there is just like a creek. But this is the Dalton Highway right here with the pipeline. And now right out down that way would end up being Wiseman and Coldfoot airports. If we need to divert over to those, Coldfoot is probably our best option. Otherwise, continuing on to like Fort Yukon or turning back to Anaktuvuk Pass is an option while the weather is good there. And this is all, I mean, we're in the sim, so we can really do effectively what we want. But in purpose of trying to simulate realistic flying, we would want to have an option of somewhere else to go if we can to make it into our planned destination. And up here, especially in the wintertime, the weather can change in a heartbeat, and it can get very ugly very quickly, and you have to be able to make that decision of, yes, I'm going to commit to coming in, or if it's just not at all physically or legally possible, based on approach minimums or conditions and stuff, then you have to have an alternate plan. I'll grab a glance out that way. Ooh, pretty. Yeah, look at that. That is just gorgeous. Look at all the jagged mountains, kind of, and layers. The sun going down. A little bit of cloud cover out that way. Not much. Go back into the cockpit, check out. 9 minutes to go. We are going to have to begin a descent, and I'm just keeping an eye on the route. Yep, so we're going to be passing over a fair bit of high terrain here. So right now we really don't want to go below 7,500 until we clear some of that high stuff or start navigating around it. So I'm going to set this down. Whoa, that went way too low. Go. Set a descent rate right about 1,000 feet per minute. We're going to pull back on the power. Right, oh, it's too much. Wait, to about 30%. And we're going to enrich in the mixture here, just to keep it in the bottom of the green, usually between 10 and 11 gallons per hour of fuel flow is about what we want. And just keeping an eye on our speed, it is pretty stable right about there. We could actually even bump this up to about 35, 36, and we'd keep it right there in the low 160s. Zoom in on the map. So here's the lake. Don't really see the terrain very well, but what we can do is change it from relative to topographical, and now we can actually see better. So what we'll be looking at doing is passing over some of these peaks, and we're going to turn. In fact, I'm actually going to turn the heading select on and we're going to spin it this way. Right out about there to about a 120 heading. This will actually keep us away of the highest terrain, so we would be able to go down to maybe about 6,000 feet. But I'm going to wait to descend until we have a clear route ahead. There's a little bit of cloud cover. So we'll need to just be careful. Make sure that we don't pick up icing going through that. I think we probably will. We got plenty of anti-ice on board. Plane can handle light to even kind of moderate icing. If it's too significant, it's dangerous, but light icing is not a big problem for this aircraft. And that's another cool thing that I like about the Cirrus, is because it does have anti-icing on board, so you are able to fly into it. Most of your general aviation planes, like your props and stuff like that, like these, it's called FIKI, flight into known icing. So if you are planning a flight and there are any icing conditions, most of those planes, it is prohibited from flying into that. So you have to adjust your route or your altitude, or simply don't go. When you have a plane that is certified for icing, then that kind of alleviates that factor, but you do have to take into account the severity of it to make sure that it's not too bad, that the plane can handle it. Because if it can't, then you've just basically defeated the purpose. At that point, you might as well just drive. Or you're staying put. Not going.
I'm all the sins that you can't confess. I'm just your ghost if we're not undressed. A part of me wish that we never met, but you act like we never got too wasted in the bathroom of your parents' house.
So we got a couple, oh yes, I just love the views up here. It's absolutely gorgeous. We've got these two small lakes right here, and that's kind of a navigation point, kind of help come around. So basically on the other side of this mountain group right here, or ridge, I guess you could say, is Chandalar Lake. Come back into the cockpit. It's a little, yep, we're getting some icing. So let's go ahead and turn that on. It's just some thin visible moisture. And those are the conditions that you're prone to pick up icing. It's not significant with it being as cool as it is and the clouds being thinner. But it is something we have to keep in mind. So I'm going to cross over this, and the lake should actually be kind of this little gap right here. The lake should be right in that. So we're going to wait to descend just a moment. I'm going to switch this back to relative. The green, we have more than 1,000 feet to go, so we can safely descend just a little bit. Just 1,000 feet. I set the descent to 500 feet per minute. Give us just a more gradual. Probably gonna have to do is really book it down once we get over this. We're just keeping an eye on the terrain here. We can actually zoom in on the map a little bit more. And we just want to make sure that none of it turns red, and if it turns yellow, we'll just need to check clearance. Quick view outside. No, can't really see it yet. No, that's pretty. Beautiful. I love flying up here. I know I say that several times, but I really mean it. This is one of my favorite places to fly. And not just, I mean, Alaska in particular. But especially like up here in the Brooks Range. Some of the prettiest scenery that you can find in the state, in my opinion. Alright, so this is the lake right here. So we clear over that. We have, let's see, yeah, we're just about 1,000 feet above that. A tad bit less. No, where we're going directly over is, but that is less than 1,000 feet below us. But that's fine. Okay. And now that we have a clearing, what we're going to do is pull this power back, and we're going to actually continue our descent all the way down to 3,000 feet.
I'm trying to pick myself up. I may be living alone, but I still
That
believe
VNAV back on. Steepen the descent, and we're going to pull the power back. So we want to keep our speed about here. We could go half flaps right now. Yeah, we're gonna. And we'll actually bump the power in a little bit. Enrich in the mixture. Try to keep it. Now we're full rich, and we're actually right at the bottom of that. So this is the airport. I know it's a little tough to see right now, but that's it right there. So we're just kind of setting ourselves up. And we will begin a turn. Just point ourselves kind of in over to the lake. And yeah, we've got great visual conditions here, so we're going to make it in no problem. Chandalar Lake really isn't much of a town. I think they've got like a couple like hunting lodges up here and stuff, and it's just scenic. It's kind of like a minor destination. At this time, I'm going to hand fly the airplane. So we're actually going to disconnect the autopilot and just going to start turning here. 16ZX1, hello, welcome. Can't really see it right now with the, I know, the side screen there. Wait, pull the power back a little bit here. Exit icing. Yeah, we're out of it, so we can go ahead and shut the icing systems off. So we're good there. Want to keep a stable descent rate. Once we're below 110, we can go full flaps. But we need to descend a bit quicker. So what I'm going to do is cut the power. Idle. Level off. Once we get below 110, we'll go full flaps. 109. Yeah, we're good. Full flaps there. And then basically we're just going to kind of hand fly right in. Should not be too difficult. We're a little slow, so we're going to add some power back in. As we continue descending, we're on a pretty good descent rate. We might want to just level off a little bit. Actually, if we do set the navigation for a visual approach, this is a little tough while you're... Here's what we can do it from right here. Select approach visual 3. And activate. And that kind of sets us right up. And we're just going to follow those little navigational indicators. Taking it nice and easy here. Let's try to trim the airplane a little bit here. No, not quite that much. Alright, let's level that back out. I'm going to take some power out because we're getting a little bit faster. Yeah, as we're following our route though, we're looking pretty good. So take a look at this right here. This is a gorgeous view. Get actually even better when you get kind of in over the water. The other thing too that becomes a little bit tricky is this airport actually runs uphill. Which is another reason it's actually easier to land this direction. Landing downhill is harder.
500.
But with the runway sloping up the way it does make it just a little bit trickier. I'm gonna level off, we're a little bit low. You see that purple diamond there? It's a little bit above center. So we want to level off a little bit. And add just a touch of power as we're coming in. Just trim the plane out just a little bit more. Let go of the stick, you see how it's dropping a little bit. I'm holding back pressure, so I want to trim to where I just let go of the stick and it flies. Basically at the pitch attitude that I have set. And that there is pretty good. How about a view right out here quick? Oh, take a look at that. How about out over there? Ah, just trees. The mountains are covering up the sun, kind of. Oh, a small course correction here. But we're looking pretty good. This is actually a pretty good approach. Take it in nice and easy. So the actual landing surface starts not right there at that patch of asphalt, but a little bit further down. So we take the power out. We're getting a little slow here. Okay, just bump it in just a tiny bit. Here we are over the runway. See how jagged it is? Take the power out, and we're actually on the ground. There we go. Well, that was actually a pretty good approach and landing, if I may say so. And then what we're going to do is just turn at an angle. We've got a lot of room to turn around. Just a little bit of power in. Nice, easy approach. As I kind of hyped it up as being a little bit of a tougher approach, but we really just set that up right. It's not super easy, but I think just a little bit of experience of coming in and going out of here, I kind of know the area a little better. And I think we got just a little bit lucky. There's just everything seemed to work out so well. And then when you're coming in this way, when you take off, you go down this direction. And it is just absolutely spectacular. Minus 14 Celsius. It's actually comparatively warm here compared to most of the other places in the interior today. It's about 7 Fahrenheit. Now when we come up here, we get the fuel truck. We'll park alongside of that. Yeah, how about that right there? We'll set the parking brake. Oh man, just take that in. Absolutely beautiful. This is one of my favorite airports to fly into and, to a lesser extent, out of. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Alright, there we are. Let's go ahead and get the airplane shut down. So what we're going to do, pitot heat can come off. It's going to tell us it's required, but we're not going anywhere, so. The one thing we forgot to do is turn the fuel switch pump on. It's not a big deal, but when you come in for landing, if you have to reject it and go around, you generally want to have that on for your best performance when you have to put full power in to climb back out. Not a big deal. The mixture being full rich is much more important, and it was. It's telling us pitot heat required. All of these are off. We can go ahead and turn the avionics and the alternator switches. Cut the mixture. When I talk about that, I use the flight control, and so you all don't see it, but when we cut the mixture, we pull this red knob all the way back to there. And that's how you want to shut the airplane off. What that does is it burns up all remaining fuel in the lines so that it doesn't freeze or like flood if you go to start it later. Alright, indicators. Lights off, we can turn the magneto switches. And all that is left to do. So those 2 battery switches, and then come outside and just grab a quick view. Just the sun going down over the mountains right there. Love the view. Hey, Dog Awesome, welcome. Is this on VATSIM? No, it isn't. You could do this flight on VATSIM. Certainly, I mean, you can go pretty much anywhere on there. But all uncontrolled airports and stuff, so not really. I don't really do VATSIM. I've thought about getting into it. I've had a couple viewers suggest I do. And it's something that I would consider. But not for most of the stuff that I do. But there we are on the ground here at beautiful Chandalar Lake. Hope you all enjoyed the flight. That's going to do it for me. Gonna take a break. Probably do Planet Coaster in a little while, but we'll see. I've got to get up and do a few things before I get back on the computer this evening. Okay, it is so fun. I've heard a lot of people say good stuff, and I did VATSIM, oh gosh, probably 15 years ago at this point. So I mean, it's been so long, but I've considered getting on it again and giving it a go, kind of going out to some of the busier airports and stuff like that. So yeah, have a good night. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate you. Alright, this is it here, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the beautiful views. This is spectacular. And we'll pick back up with some flight sim probably within the next couple days. Probably Planet Coaster later tonight, so if y'all are into that, hope to catch you there. And either way, we'll see you around. Of course, you subbed, by the way. Oh man, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So, yeah, really appreciate you. So yeah, this is it, and I look forward to seeing you all next time. And as always, until then, take care, stay safe, and we'll see ya.